punk rock, classic rock, and new wave icons from the UK. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 British rock bands.
Now get this! London calling, yes, I was there too. And you know what they said? Well, some of it was true.
For this list, we're counting down the most influential music groups from the United Kingdom, regardless of whether they were together for decades or just a few years.
And the forests will echo with laughter. Does anybody remember laughter?
Number 10, The Police.
Just across the way, island lost at sea. Another lonely day, no one here but me.
Some of our younger Mojoholics may not correlate the recent version of Sting with punk rock. However, back in 1978, he and his fellow Londoners of The Police burst onto the scene with an eclectic debut album.
You don't have to put on the red light.
Working both as the lead vocalist and primary songwriter, Sting touched on his literary influences as the band proceeded to deliver 4 innovative productions within a 5-year span leading up to their most famous hit, Every Breath You Take.
Every breath you take, and every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you.
In essence, The Police could rock out with the best of their fellow post-punk artists. However, their cultured aesthetics ultimately produced a universal appeal. Number 9, Radiohead.
Can't get the stink out. He's been hanging around for days.
A staple of the 90s alternative sound, this band actually formed in the mid-80s while attending a boarding school in Abingdon. Originally known as On a Friday, the crew looked to a Talking Heads song for their new name, and when Creep hit the radio in 1992, Tom York and company solidified themselves as one of the most promising bands around.
But I'm a creep.
Of course, transformative albums like The Bends and OK Computer would cement Radiohead as international stars, while the lyrical proficiency and melancholic sound touched a nerve with Generation X. And perhaps to everyone's surprise, they managed to not only stay together, but deliver another decade of iconic indie albums through the 2000s.
Now that you found it's gone.
Number 8, Iron Maiden.
Kill for gain or shoot to maim. We don't need a reason. The golden goose is on the loose and never out of season.
Here's a bunch of new wave Brits, albeit of a slightly different order than the pop sounds of the early 80s.
2 minutes to midnight.
Born and bred in Leighton, England, Iron Maiden took their name from the iconic Alexandre Dumas novel, The Man in the Iron Mask, and dropped their self-titled debut in April 1980. Decades and dozens of albums later, Iron Maiden became the most influential band of the heavy metal genre, and their mascot remains an unmistakable fixture of the musical culture.
Run to the hills. Run for your lives.
They set the standard for a new era of musicians and never stopped thrashing. Number 7, Black Sabbath.
Has he lost his mind? Can he see or is he blind?
Before there was Maiden, there was Black Sabbath. Based in Birmingham, England, this group joined forces in the late 60s and fused together a blend of classic rock with something a bit more heavy. In fact, Ozzy Osbourne and his bandmates innovated the heavy metal genre and kicked off the 70s with a string of albums that would provide an alternative to the more pop-friendly sounds of the time. Back in the day, it wasn't necessarily the cool kids that were listening to Sabbath, but as it turns out, that's exactly who they were. Independent and anti-establishment, this wrecking crew changed the game for aspiring metalhead musicians everywhere. Number 6. The Who.
People try to put us down my dreams, they do, just because talking about my generation.
It's somewhat of a rock cliche to destroy a guitar on stage, but it was this band that first embraced the form of auto-destructive art.
I don't need your fight to prove I'm right.
Undoubtedly one of the most influential rock bands ever formed, The Who emerged during the British invasion, and their outlaw antics stood them apart from other musicians exhibiting more, appropriate behavior. They closed off the 60s with the groundbreaking rock opera Tommy, and they later established themselves as one of their quintessential rock bands with a full decade's worth of personal anthems for the more album-oriented rock bands of the early Rolling Stone era.
Only love can bring the rain that falls like tears all on high.
Number 5. Queen.
Pressure pushing down on me, pressing down on you. No man has fallen under pressure.
Today, a former American Idol contestant fronts this operatic fraternity.
I won't let you down.
However, the late Freddie Mercury is the undeniable face of Queen and one of the most recognizable faces of rock music.
Anybody find me? Somebody to love.
With a plethora of popular British rock to draw their sound from, this band ultimately found a niche through the personality exhibited in both their lyrics and the deeply dramatic aesthetics of their evolving stage shows.
Just gotta get out. Just gotta get right out of here.
Beginning with their self-titled debut in 1973, Queen remained the grandmasters of musical opera all the way to 1995's Made in Heaven, the final studio release upon the untimely death of their legendary frontman.
200 degrees, that's why they call me Mr. Fahrenheit. I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic man out of you.
Number 4. Pink Floyd.
So you think you could tell heaven from hell?
Like many other progressive bands of the late 60s and 70s, it would be a crime to simply label these Londoners as acid rockers. But what do you expect when you make albums that make listeners drift away into their dreams? The average music fan will immediately associate Pink Floyd with The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon, and with good reason. But truth be told, the multifaceted band released 4 late 60s classics that set the tone for the equally mind-blowing productions of the 70s.
Apples and oranges. Apples and oranges.
Pink Floyd created an atmospheric experience to be enjoyed with no moderation necessary. Well, musically speaking, that is.
But if you ask for a rise, no surprise that they're giving none away.
Number 3. The Rolling Stones.
I don't need a reason, a burden.
no one here gets out alive, except Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. The American blues originally influenced this band of rockers, and when the British invasion occurred in the early 60s, you know they were at the forefront. As the most enduring rock band of the last 50 years, the Rolling Stones were arguably most popular from 1965 to 1980, delivering hard-hitting rock and roll licks that highlighted the band's personality.
This could be the last time, maybe the last time, I don't know.
And while their musical output has been rather tame since the 1990s, it doesn't really matter given they continue to inspire by touring the world year after year. Number 2, Led Zeppelin.
Hey, mama said the way you move, gonna make you sweat, gonna make you groove.
Yet another classic rock band influenced by American blues music, this London group applied a heavy dose of psychedelia to their sound in order to mystify fellow musicians and certainly their fans. In other words, they could wail, and there wasn't a weak spot in the group.
Baby, 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 I'm gonna leave you.
With each member coming from their notable projects, Led Zeppelin was a fine-tuned machine when they formed in 1968, and within just 3 years, they released 4 explosive albums that firmly took a hold over the younger demographic.
Throw me in the line if I reach in a time. I see you up there with the passman string.
In a time when rock and roll fans pledged their allegiance to one particular band, everybody loved them some Led Zeppelin, even if they claimed otherwise. Unfortunately, the music ended with the 1980 death of drummer John Bonham.
And she's buying a stairway to heaven.
Before we reveal our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Calling, see, we ain't got no hide, except for that one with the yellowy eyes.
Number 1, The Beatles.
Let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Fields.
Okay, you all expected these guys to be our number 1 choice, and there's a good reason for that. It's because they're f***ing awesome. Unless you actually lived through the Beatles' music of the 1960s, you should forget about what pop culture tells you to believe and simply experience the music for yourself. Album by album, track by track. There's no other band that influenced rock and roll like these lads from Liverpool, and they were already a well-rehearsed act when they first arrived in America.
Asking me will my love grow? I don't know.
John, Paul, Ringo, George, for 8 momentous years, the Beatles functioned on a higher level than most and changed the world as we know it. So, do you agree with our selections? Who is your favorite British rock band? For more musical top 10s published daily, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Strawberry Fields forever.